Hello there, what is going on everyone? We are going to have some fun with the Recusant today in Star Wars Armada. We are going to try and build a fleet, and we're going to try and do something a little bit different, at least a little bit outside of my comfort zone. I want to see what you guys think about it. For all of those out there who are Separatist players, or for players who have played against Separatist fleets, I am sure you've seen an awful lot of Patriot Fist builds with Recusants, and I'm going to try to not use Patriot Fist in a fleet that features Recusant or destroyers. So we're gonna have some fun with this, trying to break out of established norms and try to do something a little fun and different, and see if it gives us some payoff. And even if it's not, maybe it could still be a little fun. If you guys are new here to the channel, I do talk a lot about Star Wars and tabletop games. We still have a $25 Amazon gift card giveaway going on right now. It's going to run for a few more days, so you still have time left to enter to win that. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. Let me know what you think of this fleet that we're going to talk about, some of your ideas towards Separatists, some of the things that you want to see for Separatists in the future, if we do get any more rapid reinforcements or points adjustments or any new content or new ships or anything like that from AMG. Definitely let me know down in the comments below what you want to see for Star Wars Armada, especially for the Separatists. All right, so the Recusant is a very cool ship. It was one of those ships that I really liked, primarily because it has a very wide front arc. Its front arc is almost completely flat, like a flower that has bloomed. Whereas and most ships kind of stop this way, but this one's like all the way out like that. And so it's got a strong front arc, but also has really good side arcs too, which make it kind of weird. Makes it a good candidate for Patriot Fist because you can get those really good front shots. It's almost impossible not to be in this ship's front arc. And that's, I think, where it comes into play on how we're going to do this build. I'm going to jump things over to Ryan Kingston's Fleet Builder. This is definitely, if you're not too experienced with Star Wars Armada, this is armada.ryankingston.com. It's a fantastic fleet builder. It's what I use for pretty much all of my builds. And once this goes away, then we're in trouble. This is awesome stuff right here. All right, so we're gonna build a fleet, and we have two different versions. We could go with the support destroyer or the light cruiser. And for what I want to do, I want to focus on the front arc. And I want to try and use gunnery teams. And since I think for what I want to do, I think the cheaper 85-point version, the light destroyer, is going to be the way to go. This is it's a great ship. It's not as great against squadrons as some others. Doesn't have the greatest engineering. Doesn't have the greatest defense tokens. Although I do really like its defense tokens. Actually, really do like them. But it's got 8 hull, only 2 squadrons, 3 command, 3 engineering. It's not super great, but it's still pretty fun. And so we're going to do a couple of things with this one. Now, we're not going to give it any titles. If I had more points, I'd love to squeeze some titles in there. I'd actually love to it's funny I said we're going to try not to use Patriot Fist, but even in this build, Patriot Fist could work, but it would just be an option because we're going to try and we're going to do some different stuff. I used to always run these guys with TK as our commander and with Patriot Fist as a title, and TK being, TF 1726. I used to always run them with this guy, and then upgrades like the B2 rocket troopers. A lot of just putting on all of those tokens, those raid tokens, onto your opponent, using TF to give you extra dice, using Recusant with Patriot Fist to get even more dice. Regardless of what range we're at, we're getting all kinds of extra dice, lots of dice. It's a very powerful shot, although it's only one shot. And I want to take advantage of the front arc that this thing has and get more than one shot. So we're not going to use Patriot Fist today. Although even if we did have the points and you change some things around, you can still run Patriot Fist on here. It just doesn't have to activate it. And so you'd have some options in the case where you don't have 2 shots to make. And so I'm going to run 2 Recusants in this build, and they're both going to be very similar, but they're not identical. I am going to run swivel mount batteries, although you could certainly run spinal armaments and other things like that. I think swivel mounts is one of the best upgrades for this ship because you're probably never going to shoot out the side. You're probably only always going to shoot out of the front. They have good enough maneuverability where lining up front shots should not be a problem regardless of your speed. We're also going to use gunnery teams. Now, if you're using Patriot Fist, you're probably using ordnance experts. You're probably trying to take advantage of black dice, leaving long range and re-rolling, and TF is 1726, giving you extra black dice at long range. You definitely want those re-rolls. But gunnery teams here is going to work because we want to have 2 shots out of the front. We already have 4 red in the front. We'll have 4 red and a black, and we are going to be using concentrate fire a lot with this build. That's going to be to trigger gunnery teams. It's going to be to to give us swivel amount of black die from the side to the front. So now at long range, we'll have 4 red, 1 black, and then another concentrate fire that we can add. So maybe a second black, which is pretty good. And then we can then take another shot on somebody else at long range, with there's going to be 4 red and then the extra 1 black. And of course, there's certain things that we need to make this work. Now, I'd love to have some red dice re-rolls on a ship like this. I don't see a whole lot of easy ways to do that with this fleet. So there's going to be some other different mitigations that we're going to put in. We're gonna double up on this. We're gonna add some other upgrades. We'll come back to these 2, but I want to add our flagship, which is going to be a Providence. We're gonna put a dreadnought in here. I'm sorry, not the dreadnought, the carrier. We're gonna put the carrier as our basically our flagship, because I want intensify firepower. I've got to have intensify firepower in this list. The purpose of intensify firepower here is to make these Recusants less prone to, oh my gosh, I rolled a whole bunch of blank dice and I have a wasted attack. So having that is good. Now, a lot of times, as somebody who's a big advocate of red dice heavy ships like Architons and assault frigates, I usually run more than one bad dice mitigation tool. So something to make up for, the occasional, oh, I rolled multiple red blanks or something like that. But I'll say this, most of the time when I do that, I end up having more rerolls and I don't really need them, or having intensify firepower and I didn't like. So for example, if I got rid of swivel mounts and I put like linked turbo laser towers, I'd have a reroll on every attack of a red die. But I tend to find that when I do that, I end up not needing intensify firepower, or vice versa. So I'm kind of hoping this build is a little bit based on hope. I have a little bit of help with intensify firepower, but that only protects me against a little bit. It doesn't protect me against a completely terrible roll. The other mitigation that I could get is that I could take a concentrate fire first turn, bank a token, and then I will have some, a token for an extra reroll here and there. So there are options, and that's one way to do it. I'm going to go ahead and put my commander on here. I'm going to put Martuk on here. Martuk is a great commander. He's going to give me an extra die also, as long as I'm firing at a shielded side. And then if the side is not shielded, it doesn't do anything. And if the defender has no shields at all, then I will lose a die. But that's a good time. I used to think that he was kind of okay. And granted, I think Martuk would work better. And this isn't a super hyper competitive list, but I think if I was trying to be really min-max, I would probably want to put something like XI7, so this way they can't redirect and then consume all of their shields extra quickly, and so this way I don't start losing dice, but that's okay. I'm okay if they do that. This is like more of a fun build. I want it to be a little bit well-rounded, so I'm going to add some squadrons. Don't worry, I'm not going completely squadronless yet again, although my last tournament did pretty well with squadrons, so I'm starting to become a little bit more in favor of squadrons, at least a little bit lately. But this is kind of the meat of the list here. We have plenty of points. I'm going to add the squadrons we're going to add, and we're going to come back and fill out the fleet a little bit more. So let me add squadrons. We're going to do 4 squadrons, which isn't bad. We're going to use the new Rapid Reinforcements 2 Wat Tambor. This guy is just super cool. He's got escort, as you finally have a real escort, and it's going to factor in really well with screen. So now you're going to keep your squadrons kind of close. I think the carrier is probably going to activate them. He's got a squadron command of 4. He won't be doing it all the time. He'll do it a couple of times, though. and he'll be able to activate them, move the squadrons around when we need to, and that'll be fun. And then on top of that, we're going to add a droid tri-fighter, because those are pretty groovy, and then 2 Vulture class droids. That gives us only 45 points. We're getting 4 squadrons, and we got a moderately respectful squadron ball here. Vulture droids do all right. Tri-fighters do all right. Wat Tambor does all right. It's a decent dice against ships as well, and pretty good chance of getting some damage in. Pretty decent defense against squadrons, especially with screen and escort, which is just a really nice combination. So if you keep everybody together, Wat Tambor could survive very well. And on top of screen and escort, he has also got a brace and an evade. So he can do he can do all kinds of really cool things. Now, with that being said, I want to return to my Recusants a little bit. We're going to do a couple more things. I'm going to add external racks to both of these, because they will eventually get close to enemy fleets, and like the deployment. I'm kind of imagining the Providence kind of going a little slow in the middle with the 2 Recusants on the sides. So there's any way they try to come at you, they're gonna have to go through the Recusants, and then you kind of whichever direction you're at, like you'll have kind of a Y formation. If they deploy on this side, you start angling your fleet towards them, and so you have the one that's on the inside, slow down to speed 1. You have the one that's on the outside, speed up to speed 3, and turn it around a little bit. So you probably have to do a few nav commands at the beginning, and so that can be a little challenging. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to also toss on Hondo Anaka on a flagship. He's always look, Hondo's great. I always love running Hondo. He's a great way to make sure that you're getting a token out there. He's good for intensify firepower. He's good to give a nav to one of these other ships if they need to, or an engineering to the ship that is taking fire. Recusants will take some damage. They're going to take some damage. We are going to also put point defense ion cannons on our flagship to help it stay alive a little bit more. It's just an amazing card, and it's incredibly underpriced. I would love to see it rebalanced for its point cost, because at 4 points, point defense ion cannons is extremely undercosted. We have 2 points left over, and we're going to put on one of our Recusants. We're going to put Takei's. Takei's is just awesome. I said, for the most part, these guys are going to be doing a lot of concentrate fire commands, and that's what they're going to do. Takei's is going to allow this guy to just say, hey, he's going to concentrate fire all game, and then he can have whatever tokens he wants. So he can get engineer tokens, he can get nav tokens every turn. If he needs a squadron token, he can potentially get that, especially if this, tiny squad ball that I have here ends up, starting to fizzle out. But realistically, it's probably going to be using it for maybe a nav, but mostly engineering tokens, because these things don't hold up for sustained fire for very, very long. And so if I pop Hondo, I can send the other engineering token over to the other Recusant. And of course, wherever I think the opponent's going to deploy, I can deploy Takei's on the inside version of I basically deploy this Recusant on the inside, because I think that one will reach the enemy fleet first, and then have the one without Takei's sort of on the outside, the one that has to flank and might spend an extra turn trying to get into position. Takei's gives a ship a lot of flexibility through command tokens. And plus we can also get, if we ever lose our command, we can always get a concentrate fire for gunnery team that way with just a token. Or he can add a token to it and give us extra reroll. So Takei's is just overall really nice. And also maybe a little undercosted. He's got a something of a opportunity cost penalty that goes into his card. Because if you use him, then you're stuck setting whatever command basically you revealed you're gonna have to set that same command against you. You're kind of telling your opponent, like, I'm stuck on concentrate fire all game, if you use him every turn. And so he denies you the flexibility of being able to have that key nav that gives you that yaw end speed, or that key engineering token that uses your full engineering value. However, Recusants, they're only engineering 3, so a token is 2. That's pretty good value, So really nav is what you kind of lose if you're doing that, or or vice versa. If you want to nav on your command dials and you use him just for concentrate fire tokens, you're losing out a little bit. So, but still, you have that flexibility based on what you're fighting against. If you're going up against a squadron heavy fleet, you're going to probably want to get a lot of engineer tokens, get those shields back little by little. You don't have that many here. But yeah, so yeah, I feel like this is a well-rounded list. We have a couple of other things. So we're going to add some of our objectives. For our red, I'm going to go with surprise attack. I've never played this one because nobody ever picks it. It's kind of really risky to have your opponent put their flagship like in the middle of the board, and then you also get all these all these raid tokens, so you can just kind of stop them from doing things. And I might be able to have a lot of shots on your flagship on turn 1. It's pretty rough, so that one usually doesn't do too well. I'm gonna go with fire lanes for our yellow. The Recusants are going to be great for fire lanes because they'll have them all in the front arc and you fly them around it, and they have good side arcs also. So even if you pass that, plus what I love about fire lanes is you know exactly where the battle's going to take place. You can point all your guns right at it, and your opponent has to walk into that web of death, which is a fun thing for 2 Recusants. And for our blue, I'll go with the safe but super popular Solar Corona, which of course is going to be nice. So you deploy on one side, you're going to lose an accuracy every time, and that might help you actually be able to spend those braces, since the Recusant doesn't have any kind of defense against that one accuracy that stops the whole brace. The only thing they have really going for them in that fact is that they do have 4 defense tokens, and they're all good ones. Like salvo, redirect, brace, and evade. Evade is just so much nicer now than it used to be. Those are good defense tokens. They're good solid defense tokens with a good solid amount of shields and health. They seem like they'd be a really, really good medium ship, except it happens to be a large, so people tend to expect that defensive retrofit on a large, and they just don't have that. And they can make them drop like a rock if they're facing like a big ISD or an SSD or something kind of crazy Simoon Krennic, shenanigans. It can happen. These guys can drop really quick, but that's okay. We got plenty of ships. We got some squadrons. And hopefully they'll do a lot of damage before they go out too. They got the external racks if we do end up too close to to a bad situation. And that's nothing wrong with that. We're going to have a good time with it. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this build. Let me know your thoughts on a double Recusant non-Patriot Fist list. Is it something that you can see yourself, trying to break out of the norms, or do you maybe have a meta where people don't run Patriot Fist but are still running Recusants in their Separatist lists? Or are you kind of like me, where most people tend to play? I mean, I'd say most of the lists here in Orlando tend to be Republic. I'm sorry, not Republic, but Rebels and Empire. There are far fewer, Separatists and Republic lists that get flown, primarily because of the lack of ships that those factions have right now. And I'm really hoping that that gets addressed in the not too distant future. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world and help make this whole channel possible. I will talk to you later. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes, and always wash your socks.